Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here as the recording of this Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. I am in London, England, wearing an appropriate t-shirt. My all-time favorite band, the Beatles. I love a lot of music, I love a lot of punk rock. London has a lot of punk rock band history, which I will hopefully get into at the course of my stay. But today, I've got to knock some bucket list locations off for the Fab Four. I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? A lot of these places I've really wanted to go to my entire life. A pretty good, consistent portion of my adult life. I've always wanted to walk across Abbey Road, and I'm going to try to culminate by the end of the day. And I'm not going to be going in order of all the spots. Some of these might not be the most dramatic right off the bat, but I'm kind of going just in order of where my hotel is versus where I'm going to end up. But I want to end at Abbey Road, and Abbey Road, walk across that very famous, probably the most famous album cover of all time. But I want to start here. 1963, this was the theater where John Lennon made the quote about when he was performing, the Beatles, the Fab Four were performing for the Queen. And he made the statement here at the Prince of Wales Theatre that, paraphrasing, those in the cheap seats can clap and everyone else can just rattle their jewelry. That was right inside this building, right here, right next to my hotel. I'm getting a little later start than normal, the 5-hour time change difference. Like right now it's 10 minutes to 2 according to that clock. And I'm kind of discombobulated on which direction I was supposed to be going, so I'm gonna go back by the location I was just at. And about a half mile up will be the last live Beatles performance ever, a spot that I've just really had on my list for so long. The Rooftop performance is a half mile this way. I only have a few hours of daylight. You can see it's about 10 minutes to 2 right now. Yeah, a little jet lag going on. From a very young age, I remember my dad talking about the Beatles. He had all the albums. I remember him telling me how that inspired him to pick up the guitar and learn how to play the guitar. Through college and on, he would listen to, he was growing up in Mississippi. He said he would go to sleep, listen to his record player of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So I'm sure he'll probably get a kick out of me checking. He'll probably watch this video and be pretty excited to see the spots as well. So this was for my dad as well. I was playing in bands, playing in punk rock bands. It was really when I was getting in my heaviest of the Beatles love and kick. In fact, sometimes when I would perform playing bass in those bands, I'd wear my variety of different Beatles shirts, and the other guys in the band would say, "Why are you wearing a Beatles shirt at Beatles shirts at punk rock shows?" There's something about them resonated with me. I love the songwriting duo, Lennon and McCartney, probably the greatest songwriting team of all time, arguably, in my opinion. In fact, Green Day, another band that I really, really love, top favorite. I feel like in a lot of ways, they emulated the songwriting style of the Beatles. Of course, that wasn't a collaboration of efforts when it came to both of them. It's just Billy Joe, but yeah, kind of same style. All right, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that I'm walking down this street. So this is the road that the Rooftop performance took place on.
Yeah.
5 of them on the roof. It wasn't just the Fab Four. There's also Billy Preston, the keyboard player. Let It Be is probably my favorite Beatles album. It's hard to pick. I also like Revolver a lot. It's tough. But I think Let It Be is a special place in my heart more than all the other ones. I listened to that album over and over and over. Great driving album, a lot different than the other Beatles albums. And I just love it. I got so dang excited talking about it that I bypassed it. And now that I'm turning and looking this way, there it is. Right there. Oh my gosh. Their final concert ever, their favorite, I can't talk. Their final live performance happened right on top of that roof, right here. On the roof, right up there, you can see, still looks exactly the same. There's an antenna up there. It was all live. They did a few songs a couple times, and 3 of them ended up making it on the Let It Be album. Dig a Pony might be my favorite one. They only did one take of Dig a Pony with John singing. And that's the one you'll hear on the album. And I've Got a Feeling they did a few times. I think it was the first take of I've Got a Feeling with Paul singing. It was right up there. Unfreaking believable that this is the spot right here. On the album Let It Be, the song Let It Be. They did not perform that on the roof, but that was on the album. And I've listened to that song many times through, certain situations in my life and hard times in my life. It's just, you listen to that and it really, man, what an emotional song. So good. All right, you can kind of see it, but it says right there in the little circular item, it says the Beatles played their last live performance on the roof of this building, January 30th, 1969. And I was recently watching the special that Peter Jackson did for Disney Plus. If you go on Disney Plus, you can watch all that. There's also a lot of footage online. But evidently it was going to be on the 29th, and they pushed it back to January 30th. There's just so much footage of them inside this building. Right here. Ooh, is the window open? Evidently, there's no one occupying this building right now. There's a little tour guide right there explaining what's going on. So basically, they mounted a few different cameras. They put one across the way over there. That's a lot of the angles you see of them up top, right there. And they also mounted a hidden camera inside the lobby of this here. And there's, they had a camera guy out here following the police around who tried to shut it down. They got through about 40 plus minutes of the set. This is it right here. Pretty cool. Wish I could peek in the window, but I actually wish I could get on the roof, but there's no one occupying this building now. It doesn't seem like much to just look at a front of a building. But that is just something else. That is just something else. Massive piece of music history right there. Unbelievable, right there on top of that roof. And there's plenty of photos online, but here's one just real quick, like you can see Billy Preston was over here in the corner, of course Ringo in the back. You got Paul there, got John wearing his coat, big coat, and then over here next to the wall, George Harrison. I think John was my favorite Beatle, followed by Paul. I think Paul was a little bit better songwriter, and still is. John, just something about John, just really, man, I love John Lennon. Notice prominently in that photo, the camera guy got on top of the roof and was filming downward. You could see this here with these pillars, and you could see this building right there. And the photo is up top there. I mean, there's so much footage of it up everywhere out there, but man, seeing it just in person is just so wild. Yeah, there's that building there with the pillars. There's that other building I was showing. I'm standing right there in that spot, basically right where that car is, right there. The more I think about it, it's really tough to pick a favorite Beatles album. But Let It Be is the one that resonates strongest with me, and probably the one I've listened to the most, just driving. And White Album, though. White Album's another one. Last time they ever performed in concert was up there. I mean, they still were together a little bit longer, finishing the album and everything, but that was a time anyone outside of their circle in the public eye could have seen them. Now, a lot of talk about the roof, where they used a few of the versions up there on the album, but everything else was in the basement. The recording studio was in the basement. I'm going to take it upon myself to just walk down here. Kind of blowing my mind to think that behind these windows, it just, oh my gosh, unbelievable. Behind these very windows was the recording studio. Apple Corporation's here. It wasn't the first one, but it was the last one. They moved here for the final duration of the band. Cannot see anything inside the window. I peeked in. You know, Abbey Road, I know, is definitely a big spot, but this is one as well. Let It Be, the album right here, and last live performance. Again, arguably I'm just standing here drinking my coffee. With my Beatles shirt on. Alright, a lot more. I'm not going to cover all the spots from the band, because there's hundreds and hundreds of them, but I want to hit the key points. But this is, for me, this is a big one. This is a big one. Wish I could have got on the roof, but yeah, no one's here. I'm gonna head over to the Palladium now. Still really trying to wrap my head around what I just saw. Just on such an unassuming street, I would say. You know, a lot of people know the history of the Beatles here for sure, but there's probably more that do not when they pass by that building. They see people standing there looking up, thinking, what are they looking at up there? So cool. Looks like they have some sort of event going on here at the Palladium. But this is where they performed, and the news outlets, the media, coined the phrase that everyone was so crazy, everyone that was showing up to see the Beatles in concert, they coined the phrase Beatlemania after a show right here in the Palladium. While I was standing here, a gentleman walked by, he said he fancied my shirt. That was the words he used. And he says, oh, you know the Abbey Road album? I used to live in the flats right next to there. I said, oh, I'm heading there. I'm heading there. He says, good on you. Or I didn't say he said good on you, but he said good. Yeah, so if you've heard the term Beatlemania, that's where it originated from, right there. Again, they're setting something up. Brian Epstein, his office was right next door in this building, which is under a massive construction. They have the scaffolding and the scrim. This is where in 1966, John Lennon made the remark that really a lot of people did not agree with and was very controversial at the time, where he said that the band was bigger than Jesus. Right above what is now a Five Guys. People lost their minds over that. I think Oasis tried to say that they were bigger than the Beatles. I mean, come on, Oasis. Great band, but not the Beatles. When it comes to Paul McCartney, he's got quite a few songs that really hit home, emotional songs. Of course, I mentioned Let It Be, but can't forget about Yesterday, which he got the idea for at an apartment of his ex-girlfriend over here on the corner. As the story goes, he woke up, had the tune in his head, or at least the melody. He hadn't had the lyrics yet. And he jotted them down from awakening at the apartment. Right here on Wimpole Street. Wimpole. I could be pronouncing that incorrectly. It wasn't just Yesterday, but John and Paul in the basement also wrote, I Want to Hold Your Hand. There it is, 57A. So that would be the basement down there. Well, now that I'm looking at it, that's 57A. This is 57. Right here. It had to have been the middle one here, 57, not 57A, because there's an interview with Paul saying that he used to climb out the window and there was a colonel living in 56, which is here. So the upstairs, where he came up with the tune, he had a dream, according to him, came up with the tune, didn't have the lyrics yet for Yesterday, and then in the basement, him and John, I Want to Hold Your Hand. so dang awesome. Really, come on. Come on. Right over here is a little pedestrian crossing. Look at the little yellow blinking bulbs right here. Gives the walkers the right of way. All these neighborhoods are just all so dang awesome. I mean, really, so cool. Like every street is just so easy on the eyes. The Paddington Street Gardens. You think of England, you think of Mary Poppins, but she would not be content with this. Dang. Don't feed the birds. Getting my steps in today, getting a lot of walking around this beautiful area. Right here on this corner, for less than a year, a few months shy of less than a year, was the Apple Boutique. There used to be a little psychedelic mural painted on the side of it, on the corner, on both sides of the corner. Didn't last very long though. In the late 60s, they thought it'd be a good idea to open a store. McCartney was on board and Apple Corporation was on board. Evidently part of the reason it was closed is because of theft. Seems like a pretty good neighborhood, but maybe things were a little bit different around that time, or maybe just the demand to get Beatles stuff. They just wanted to grab it and not pay for it. Currently 40 degrees, it's 3:20 right now. Sunset is in an hour, so definitely by the time I get to Abbey Road, it's going to be dark. All right, another spot is over here in the corner of Montague Square. Well, this is Montague Square. The road would be Montague. Ringo lived here. I think John lived here for a little while. A lot of things transpired. In fact, also holds a lot of other rock and roll history. I believe Jimi Hendrix would even crash here as well. There's even a sign. Let's see what the sign on the door says. Over here is a very unique taxi. Goes by. Wet paint. (1940) 1980s when, well, 80s when Lennon passed. I was in New York. Been to that spot. Musician and songwriter lived here in 1968, but there's a little more to the story than just that. There's a lot of history when it comes to the band in these basements. So evidently Ringo had the first floor and the basement down below, and he rented it to Paul and John, and Yoko was in there for a very, very short while. And McCartney even came up with a couple demos inside there. I'm Looking Through You, which I like, and one I like even more, Eleanor Rigby. Now that was recorded much later, but that's when he kind of came up with the idea in the basement. Also, there was an album cover where John and Yoko posed in their birthday suits. It wasn't their birthday, but they were naked, and they were down in those in the basement, down on the other side of the windows there. Or it could have been the first floor flat, but it was somewhere in this general area right here. And here's a photo of Ringo and Paul standing on these very steps, waiting for the automobile to arrive to pick them up. There it is, same window and everything. After looking up a little bit more, it appears as if John and Yoko lived here during the recording of the White Album, because they were in New York and they decided they'd rather be closer here for the recording of that. And there was also the Scotland Yard showed up and arrested John and Yoko for drug use inside of there as well. That was 1968. There's Holmes Grill. I think over by Scotland Yard, perhaps. Sherlock Holmes. There's a little store here. I see the drum from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Oh, I'm going there. If they have a Let It Be shirt, I'll buy one. I used to have a Let It Be shirt. I was looking for it, but as I was packing to go on this trip and couldn't find it, so it has since gone by the wayside. Wet paint. Well, I'm getting a strong wet paint here in London vibe. Nice variety of stuff inside. There's actually 2 storefronts side by side. They had a lot of different things. They didn't really have the Let It Be shirt that I was looking for. They had one, but it really wasn't the one that I wanted. So I'm on an eye out for it. They had some that were kind of official Apple ones, and then they had some other ones that were kind of spin-offs and things. They also had some Yellow Submarine stuff. It reminds me, years ago, I got a Yellow Submarine tattoo. So I love Yellow Submarine album also. It's really difficult to pick a favorite Beatles song or favorite Beatles album, but yeah, the Let It Be is definitely up there. There's the fact they even have little plushes here from Yellow Submarine. A lot of Yellow Submarine stuff in here. Alright, gonna continue on. Yep, I wanted to have a Beatles nod on my arm, so got the Yellow Submarine. Got that many years ago, probably 20 years ago now, if I had to guess. When I was going through my heavy Beatle phase. When I was listening to them every day, consistently for a very, very long time. So if what should I get Beatle-wise instead of getting, their 4 faces or anything like that? I just decided to get the Yellow Submarine. All right, continue walking here. Got the flower station with the heart. Just remember, all you need is love. Love is all you need. Do you fancy a game of cricket? Right here at the Cricket's ground, Lord's Cricket Ground. McCartney bought his first house here in London back in the early 60s, 63-ish. I believe he still owns it. Well, there it is. Evidently when he bought the house, even back in the 60s, he made it, with security and things like that. Just because he knew people were going to stop by. There's a photo here. What it looked like back in the day. Got it for a pretty decent price. Again, he also bought it in the 60s, so no telling what this house is worth now. There's a guy standing across the street too. He's got some Beatles stuff on. He said, "You gotta go push the button." I go, "Nah, not gonna do that." But that's the house. Pretty cool. Hey, it may or may not be home. Who knows? All right, going over to get another cup of coffee, and then to Abbey Road and Abbey Road Studios. Here's some photos from back in the day of Paul in front of his home. There. Signing some autographs, it looks like. It would be cool to meet Paul McCartney. I used to work at Office Max years ago, and there was a manager there, him and I. We had a connection through our fandom of the Beatles. I was always working and receiving, sitting at my little desk doing check-in stuff and whatnot, and I had a little CD player. I was always listening to Beatle albums, and he'd come back there and talk about how it was like his favorite group and how he went to Shea Stadium to see them back in the day. He couldn't get in. It was either sold out or he couldn't get tickets. So he stood outside of Shea Stadium and listened to them perform from outside. And the same guy, the manager at the store, telling stories about years later, he was, according to him, was at a Disney resort staying and went outside at like midnight or 2 in the morning to smoke a cigarette, went outside the facility to smoke, and Paul was there. He said he was very starstruck, walked up to him, told him about the whole Shea Stadium story, and Paul was like, oh yeah, good show, it was a good show. I don't know if that's true, but man, how cool would that have been to just see Sir Paul out there. I'm not even sure if he even still smokes anymore, but see him smoke, having a conversation about Shea Stadium, so pretty neat. I've never met Paul McCartney. Also realizing by looking at the map as I'm walking over here, how close Paul's house was to Abbey Road, or is to Abbey Road. The only Beatle I've ever seen in person was Ringo during his birthday off of Hollywood Boulevard, Capitol Records building. He did a thing a few years ago when I was living in Hollywood between 2017 and 2019. And David Lynch was there too, so I saw David Lynch. David Lynch just passed. I feel like I'm getting closer. I also like here in London how these are on all the intersections. You know, if your mom never taught you to look both ways, the streets will. Look both ways. This is it. Right over here on the corner of Grove End Road and Abbey Road. There's a lot of freaking traffic. Unbelievable. This is it. Oh my God. You know, I had heard there was a lot of traffic through here, but it'd be very difficult to really, unless you were here like early in the morning or late at night before anybody shows up. And I had no idea behind where the photographer was the sculpture here, the way the road intersects. Had no idea, had no clue. There was definitely no cars the day they were getting that photo. Famous photo that I think years later they digitized out Paul's cigarette. I think he was like walking later with no cigarette, but originally he had the cigarette in hand. Of course, when he took the photo, there was a lot more leaves on the trees. The locals must hate this. Things I didn't really realize till I got here. It is a beehive of activity traffic-wise here. Would have gone from this side, Abbey Road Studios there, and then they would have walked across this. Do not recall ever just seeing the little lamps they had. And I don't think the look right was down here. But this is exactly where they would have walked. McCartney with cigarette in hand. Directly across, just like that. Probably over and over till they could get the... Notice behind them where they're walking, there's an older gentleman standing there looking at them being photographed. And what you don't see is Abbey Road Studios is directly across from him, and what he is looking at is this angle here of them walking across. I thought about just cutting straight across there, but I figured, why not just walk back up and go the other way across? Walk back the opposite way as they were walking. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh, people have wrote all kind of stuff here. Look at this. Don't write here, there, or anywhere. Nicely done. Kind of like at Graceland, people scribble all their names and stuff all down the wall at Graceland. Members of the public are not permitted access to the car park. Thanks for your cooperation. Oh, please be aware, bogus police officers in this area. Okay. Oh, Across the Universe. Also on Let It Be. Ah, what an album. What a band. Unbelievable amount of hits. Unbelievable amount of great songs that even weren't hits. Abbey Road Shop. Look at this. There's an Abbey Road Shop right there. Wearing inappropriate t-shirt. All right, this says that they are open. It's 4:38 right now. So I'm filming this a Wednesday. They're open until 5:30. At least the shop is. There's a shop down there. All right. 1930s, world's first purpose-built recording studio was built. Cellist Pablo Casals records a Bach cello suites here. 40s, it remained open. 50, George Martin, Ken Townsend began work at EMI. The studios record Queen Elizabeth II's coronation via landline for Westminster Abbey. And then in the 60s, 4 little lads from Liverpool audition at the studios. In 1967, they performed All You Need Is Love during the world's first international satellite broadcast. In 69, Abbey Road album was released. And in the 70s, John Lennon Imagine recorded between Abbey Road and his Ascot home. Dark Side of the Moon here, 73. And then went on into the 80s. Kate Bush recorded here. Recorded one of his first film scores, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Interesting, I didn't know that. Tina Turner. Oasis recorded here, naturally. Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay, I can't take photos inside here, so see you after. All right, I purchased quite a few things. They do not do tours of the inside of the studio, so it's still an active studio, so no tours are given. Thought maybe they did like some sort of tour, but they don't. A lot of famous photos of artists on front of the staircase over there. It's also very interesting they said no photos in here. They had a lot of really good merch, which I purchased quite a bit as well. But then when you walk in, there's an immediate sign that says tag us. It has their social media. So I asked, do you not want photos? Do you want photos? I go, well, you can take photos, just no video. So, well, the sign says no photos. So I didn't do either inside there. But they had some good stuff in there. But no video. Last time I was in the Bay Area, California Bay Area, San Francisco, I purchased Kerplunk, my favorite Green Day album, over at Berkeley, in the same area, the same vicinity where Green Day's from. I do not own a record player currently, but I do collect records, and eventually I will have a record player. So I bought Abbey Road at Abbey Road Shop, next to Abbey Road Studios, here at the crossroads of Abbey Road. I mean, right? That's how it should be done. If you're going to buy a record and you want to have a certain record, it's kind of neat to purchase it at the place that ties in to where you're at. You also notice there's this little white bug here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Talking about the older gentleman that was standing over there that's behind them as they're walking by, but the bug would have been right over there parked, and they sell that inside the store. So I got that, I got the vinyl, got a few other things as well. The bug would have been right there. Also grabbed this little stocking cap as I walk across the same most famous crossroads in the world. So not only the vinyl, got a little souvenir bag. I got a button here, all you need is love. I also got a magnet for my magnet collection. I walk the crossing. Also got the 1969 Abbey Road one. I got a little Sharpie with Abbey Road on it. And I also got this one here, designating the studios. There they are walking across. Traffic seemed to slow down a little bit, at least at the moment. New cap. New merch. It doesn't take long before the traffic to show back up again as well. It does not take long. Look at this flow going through here. Oh. But they do stop sometimes for people that are crossing by. I think I spent a little too much time here, but this is one place I'll probably... Don't know if I'll ever get back here again. And I waited a long time to get here, so apologies if I'm over-filming of this, because this is blowing my mind. right, in order to get to coffee shop, I just looked it up. There is a Helter Skelter coffee shop. Got to go this way, and then about, I don't know, about a half mile or so. So I'm gonna walk over here one last time as soon as I get a break. All right, over here at the St. John's Wood Station, evidently in the subway system known as the Underground, there is a Helter Skelter. So there's the tube map. They call the subway the tube here. I could probably use this to get back over to where I got to go, Piccadilly Circus area. Beatles Coffee Shop. I was looking online. It said that they changed the name of it to Helter Skelter, but evidently they have changed it back to Beatles Coffee Shop. All the Abbey Road stuff, tons of it. But actually, I got confused and I walked a half mile the other way, tried to find it on the maps, and got confused. So I went a mile out of the way and then a mile back. But really, this was really close to Abbey Road. But with the weather how it is, you definitely use another cup of coffee. St. John's Wood Station. Look at them, there's the Fab Four right there, peeking their heads around the corner. There's Paul, there's John, there's George, and there's Ringo. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Any milk or is just black coffee?
I'm gonna do a little milk. Milk and a couple, and a sugar or two.
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you. Here's the little badges. Patches. Guitars there. All right, I'm noticing so far there's not a lot of drip coffee here in town. Most of them just make Americanos. They serve Electric Company here at the coffee shop of the band. Well, not affiliated, but. So he did say, barista in there, that I could get to Piccadilly Circus from where I am. He said take the green part and then you connect with the Piccadilly line. It's hard to make hands. Okay, right here. St. John's Wood is where I am now. And then Piccadilly, or I could just order a taxi or an Uber. All right. I asked an attendant. Everyone here is just so helpful. I said, go down here, take a right, southbound train. Getting everybody's way. Southbound train. And then get off at the green line, green stop, green something. And then I'll give you to the Piccadilly line. Guess I should move over to this side. I should know this by going to enough airports that if you're not walking, you should be on the right hand side. Or maybe it's the left because everyone drives through on the left. It's very confusing. Yeah. I need to learn the trains though because I need to start using them more during my duration here. So, southbound platform. Get off at Green Park is where he said. Check out the help point right here. It's interesting. Goodness, that was a crammed subway system, but I made it over to Green Park. I just got to grab the Piccadilly line. Very quick, very easy, and very, very busy. Tunnels everywhere, walkways everywhere, people everywhere, corridors everywhere, and tubes everywhere. All about the tubes. All these tiles. Getting some steps into that. How that's crammed full of people. We'll just go up and walk. This is like sardines in here. Alright, I squeezed on that bad boy. It was smushed in there. Smushed. But I made it. And now, finding the way out at Piccadilly. Elbow to elbow. Actually, closer than elbow to elbow. All right, that's going to do it for today. From London, hitting up some Beatles spots. Again, there are a lot of them. Picked this up at the coffee shop on the way out. I probably should have got that beforehand, but I can peruse through that for the rest of time. Got the bug here, got the pens, I got the Sharpie and the writing pen. Also have a regular pen that goes on there as well. The vinyl, the bag. Nice day. I'll see you in the next video, the vlog. Thanks for watching. The vlog is over.